In the last video on this topic, I talked about the relative irrelevance of emotional availability in the absence of emotional capability. So I think the next step to help us further break down, define, and understand and apply what emotional capability is, or emotional capacity, or emotional IQ is to talk about emotional maturity. Because the problem for so many of us is that we just have not yet hit emotional puberty. Somewhere along the way, we were hurt. We experienced pain, betrayal, loss, grief. Someone was supposed to be there to catch us when we fell, to encourage us, to help us back to our feet, to be there for us, to support us, to help us in our growth and our learning and our healing. But they weren't. And too often for so many of us is that in those moments of conflict, in those moments of pain, we took on a coping mechanism in order to survive. Our minds and our hearts were doing the best that they could with the information that they had in those moments to try to protect us and preserve us. So they take on these coping mechanisms and these behaviors that may actually cost us in our emotional maturation. Maybe we learn to raise our voices. Maybe we learn to get mad and break things. Maybe we learn to lie. Maybe we learn to try to do nice things in order to manipulate to get our desired result. Maybe we learn to sit down and shut up and withdraw and abandon. And these are the ways that we learn to survive the pain that we were going through. And there are so many unhealed adults that are still operating out of their childhood coping mechanisms. When conflict and pain arise, these adults are no longer adults. They essentially revert back to whatever age they were when that trauma response became the mechanism that they would use in order to cope. All emotional maturity really is the work done to go back and bring awareness and healing to that inner child. That's it. It's really that simple. But it is one of the most difficult and painful journeys that you can take in your life. I always recommend working with licensed professionals to do this type of internal work because you never know what type of monsters could be hiding behind some of those doors that you closed earlier in your life for your own protection. The path of least resistance is the most often traveled, and that is why so few people will take up this call, because most people would rather stay justified in their own bullshit and remain a victim. Now that we have a better understanding of emotional maturity, the next piece of the puzzle is emotional communication, because a child cannot express what they're feeling and what they're going through without a vocabulary. And it is a vocabulary that takes emotional maturity into emotional intelligence, which is what I will attempt to cover in the next video. So do not hit that subscribe button if you are not ready for the challenge.